3, 2, 1. If there is one thing that the Catholic Church had always advocated for, it would be the sense of unconditional love to those around us, which many chose to opt into the religion because regardless of their flaws or regardless of their shortcomings, there is a God that ultimately accepts and loves you at your best, but more importantly, at your worst. To a large extent, this debate is about making individuals who have been alienated for whatever reason need to be welcomed. They're able to be welcomed at our side of the house, just as Jesus welcomed tax collectors and prostitutes in his company. Which is why we need to shift the narrative of the Bible being created out of divine inspiration to one that openly admits that we are flawed individuals, and that's a good thing. A few rebuttals then to the immediate previous speaker. Firstly, if LO questions the existence of God when the Bible or other religious scriptures are now written by flawed individuals, is not necessarily true. My partner already mentioned how God still exists. We just question certain elements in the text that may be under scrutiny. This looks like questioning whether or not Mary was truly a virgin and or being able to reconcile the idea of mysteries, which for far too long have been deemed unquestionable. The nature of religions is that they should evolve. This debate is an after motion. It's not a matter of can we, it's a matter of should we. We believe that if we want to market the church to the progressive left, who do nothing but shit on the church, we should allow us to have better discourse. But second, the LO mentioned how people can opt out and find another religion. This rhetoric is precisely what leads to religions becoming less relevant amidst of rising trends of secularism and moral relativism. However, if these people are good or noble, as they are portrayed to be, then they'll always be open to a plurality of beliefs and not a monolithic, singular, never-changing standard. This is because it's fundamentally wrong to practice your religion and claim you are so moral, but at the same breath, shame women, shame gays, and shame minorities who don't subscribe to these beliefs just because your God said so. This debate isn't about the existence of God, but about whether or not it's in their interest. We tell you that the people we lose out on, who are too bigoted to open their minds, will be replaced by the majority of the woke people, who for far too long have lobbied for these changes. Example, majority of the debate community. Even if these things cannot be changed, we at least have some sort of discourse and discussion, which does not happen in the status quo because the church The church can swing its entire belief system and veto these things as dogma and divine magisterium. Third, the LO discussed how clergymen become ousted and there may be an exodus. We say that's good if we remove the very bigots who undermine the inability of the church to evolve, then that's how we can get true change. Besides, when conservative clergy leave, liberal and progressive clergy, who now better identify, can come in. It's fair to assume that on both sides we're going to lose out on laity and clergy. But on our side, there are more who come in. But lastly, the evolution of teaching can only have a chance at happening if we do not take things as dogmatic divine inspiration. There's better discourse on our side of the house, but more on this in my extension. Our main extension is actually pretty simple. The change of perspective on the Bible further emphasizes the recognition of free will, which is in the interest of the church. What makes me say this? Well, the lack of divine inspiration shows us two things from the get-go. One, it proves that God is one that does not actively control you and your decisions. This is the case because ultimately, He allows people to experience rather than dictate how they should write about Him. This means then that those acts of benevolence were written by humans who were not controlled by God. So the people had autonomy over their actions and thoughts. Why is this important? Because it sends the message that the people who wrote the Bible were just as flawed as the people reading it. Two, it essentially supports more ideology that God gave us free will. This is a crucial aspect of the round because the church has always placed emphasis on one's free will. This free will is what gives us the capacity to stray away from God, but likewise return the love He provides for us unconditionally as well. Which means that if we understand that rather than looking at the Bible as one written by divine inspiration, we can finally see the Bible as one that is written by people like us. People who are flawed, people who sin. We feel as though there is a stronger inclination to opt into the religion because we know that these prophets and evangelists wrote everything under their free will. Why is this the case? It actually leads to my second extension, the change in narrative on the view of the Bible. We ultimately increase the degree of relatability between the Bible and society in the modern times. This relatability as an extension is round-winning, primarily because only when we recognize flawed human beings do we ground the Lord's teaching to one that is written by people of the same nature as us, individuals that breathe, ate, and sin the same way we do. We need to understand that there is a reason why corporations often market their products as one that is used by a common person. And that's because it feels relatable. It makes them want to purchase these commodities. Likewise, if we understand that the Bible was written by individuals that are like us, we are more likely to feel inclined to believe in it because this was not written with God's involvement. It's quite literally a 5-star review as to why the Catholic Church is one that's inclusive and filled with this endless capacity to love unyieldingly. My last extension then is on the scope of who we're helping. We'd rather have more people know the teachings of the Bible and feel safe in the church because we made adjustments rather than keep it 100% pure dogma that drives people away. Listen, we all have our different opinions on religion, but there's no denying that it helps certain people. Imagine if there's certain people that were driven away because of whatever reason, they're gay, they need an abortion to protect themselves, etc. In our world, these people can still opt into these religions. So at the end of the day, we need to understand one thing. Only on our side of the house do we maintain the longevity of the church because we're encouraging people who were previously alienated to come back. So for all those reasons and more, very proud to propose.